2012 saw a few joint efforts from developer Spiders, one such effort with Frogwares to bring us The Testament of Sherlock Holmes, and Of Orcs of Men in association with Cyanide Studios. Both were fairly well received critically. Well, Spiders has us caught in their web once again for their second solo attempt, and I'm happy to report that Spiders might still be a little shaky, but they're really starting to come into their own. Mars Warlogs is a solid action role-playing game. And as I'm sure you already know, just like with all good new role-playing games, Mars Warlogs starts with the main character, Roy in this case, stopping some good old-fashioned prison rape.
I was starting to get tired of fucking the same asses.
And this has been a tradition for tons of different franchises. Luckily, Roy is the type of badass that can make the would-be rapist back off by just looking at him. And by a stroke of fate, Innocence just so happens to be the name of the guy's ass that Roy saves. Innocence chronicles his encounters in a journal, which is why the game is called Mars Warlogs. For the most part, the game is Innocence's detailed account of a war on Mars, and the aftermath of that war.
Then I caught on. War's got nothing to do with being a hero. It's just about crawling forward with blood everywhere. Days of searing heat, jammed into makeshift, stinking trenches teeming with rats.
Mostly though, the narrative, world, and lore is shrouded in mystery and left up for speculation, but ultimately the story at hand amounts to questioning morality and ethical necessities on a basic level regarding those who are less fortunate and poverty-stricken, and the figures who would exploit those basic ethical codes to gain power. Like using sentient beings as slaves just because they're different, or hoarding food to tip the scales in their favor to maintain power. The issues of moral ambiguity covered in the story tie into the gameplay as well. For instance, as one might suspect, there is no money on the Red Planet. Food, water, metals, and precious materials are the valued resources. As such, you'll spend a lot of time with Roy collecting random materials like scraps of metal, leather, bones, and so on, which can then be used for crafting. But there's also the valued commodity of serum.
Hey, psst, I got lots of great stuff to trade or sell. You got serum? A little.
Serum can be looted like many random goods, but you're also given the choice to extract it from defeated foes, killing them in the process. Killing enemies to extract serum will influence Roy's morality, in turn affecting how people treat him, buffs Roy receives, merchant prices, and dialogue at times. The serum extraction system has some good ideas, and it plays into the overall storied themes regarding the measures one will go through to gain power quite well, but it needed better implementation. For instance, it seems strange that a prison inmate merchant would care if Roy was killing the oppressive prison guards, or why a good or bad reputation from a desolate POW camp early in the game would carry into the next zone that's a completely new city where no one's ever heard of Roy. Like several key aspects of the game, the idea is there for something great, but the wonky follow-through diminishes the experience instead. On the upside, one of the most important aspects of Mars Warlogs is one of its greatest features, and consistent throughout, the combat. Engaging in battles feels somewhat similar to The Witcher 2. One button is used for free-flowing attacks around the battlefield, and the other for time parries to counter. Also, Roy can't simply swing away at an enemy to button mash them to death. Attack combos have to be broken up and mixed with guard breaks and skills. Skills are unlocked by leveling up and distributing points into specific disciplines. There are 3 distinct trees to work with: Renegade, which is stealth and gadget usage; Combat, which is pretty much the warrior with defense and melee abilities; and Techromancy, the technological lightning mage.
Feel like fucking with a pissed off technomancer? I'm sure that would be a shocking experience.
The various skill trees allow Roy to approach situations differently. He can go head first, or sit back and barrage enemies with a nail gun or lightning. He can even sneak stealthily, but it's definitely implemented the weakest of all the different gameplay styles. Besides, the outright melee combat is borderline amazing, and the stealth pales in comparison. Overall, the combat is very satisfying. Really, my only complaint with it is the small number of enemy variety. Mars Warlogs is a great game without question, but its frequent drawbacks and inconsistencies take something that could have been amazing and simply make it good, which isn't bad, but it just feels like the first attempt at something that's only going to get better. In its current state though, it's still a solid experience with fun gameplay and an interesting world for sci-fi and RPG addicts everywhere.